Coco Bliss and Memphis have been together for almost 7 years. But this isn't your typical love story. It is messy, it is toxic, and now it involves a baby caught right in the middle. This couple has shared everything online. The fights, the makeups, the breakups, the confessions. But what was once seen as clout chasing has taken a darker turn, especially now that there's a child involved. Today we're diving into the raw and uncomfortable truth about Coco and Memphis, the red flags, the grooming allegations, the emotional chaos, and the serious parenting concerns. So, buckle up because this isn't just entertainment anymore, it is a call for concern. Coco Bliss and Memphis, also known by his rapper name I Heart Memphis or I Love Memphis, started dating when Coco was only 17 years old. That is not a rumor or a guess, Coco herself has confirmed it in her own words. At the time, Memphis was already 26 years old, a full-grown adult. That's a 9-year age gap between a teenager who's just starting out in life and a man nearing 30. When people raise concerns about this, they're not being judgmental, they're acknowledging a real problem. Because this isn't just about age, it is about power, it is about maturity, it is about someone older having more control, more experience, and using that to influence a younger person who might not even realize what is happening. That is why people call this grooming. When an older man dates a teenage girl, even if she's almost 18, the dynamic is not equal. He's already lived through things she has not seen yet. The imbalance can shape how the relationship works, who gets the say, who has the control, and who ends up emotionally tied to something they don't fully understand. And in Coco's case, people believe that is what's kept her going back to Memphis even after everything he's done to her. This relationship has never been stable. It's not one of those on and off again things people joke about. It is deeper, it is messier, and it's honestly sad to watch. They break up, they fade, they go public with their drama, they get with other people just to make each other jealous, and then they reunite like nothing ever happened, over and over again. We've seen them hurt each other, lie, cheat, and embarrass themselves online for years, and yet they always end up back together. It is not love, it is a cycle, a toxic emotional roller coaster that never stops. And now, with a child involved, that chaos has even more consequences, even more serious consequences. One of the most jaw-dropping moments in Coco and Memphis's messy timeline came when Coco went on Instagram Live and let everything out. It wasn't just a small rant, it was a full emotional release. Coco looked tired, upset, and fed up, and in that moment, she wasn't trying to protect his image anymore. She aired. She told viewers that Memphis had cheated on her, lied to her face, and even put his hands on her. She described him as a user, someone who did not contribute, did not help, and still expected her to pay for everything. She said she was always the one covering his expenses, handling their life while he took advantage. To her, he was a leech, a man who gave nothing but took everything.
And I am a fucking victim. This man has put his hands on me, cheated on me, stole from me. So yes, I am a victim. I'm a victim. I don't pay for his phone no more. I turn that shit off.
And then came the part that really shook everyone watching. Coco claimed that Memphis had been involved with minors. That is not just petty drama. That is a serious accusation that, if true, could get someone arrested. And it hit even harder because Coco herself was a minor when she first got with him. It added a layer of sadness to her story that made people really pay attention. In that moment, Coco looked like someone who was finally ready to walk away. She said she wasn't going to pay for anything of his anymore. She said she was tired of being used, tired of being hurt, tired of carrying everything while getting nothing back. And people felt social media lit up with support. People were cheering her on, encouraging her to stay strong, to leave for good. They finally saw her choosing herself.
Was it a toxic relationship?
It was a lot, to be honest. It was just really toxic, and I don't think it was good for neither of us. I think it's for the best that we're not together no more.
How did it finally actually end?
You know, it was just a bunch of drama on TikTok. There was a point when we were just bashing each other, like constantly like making posts, and I feel like that really put like a big tear in our relationship. So that was kind of like the breaking point.
But like every other time, it did not last. Just days later, she was back with him, and that moment of strength, it became just another loop in their never-ending cycle. After all of that, the cheating, the lies, the abuse, the shocking Instagram live, Coco went right back to Memphis, and not just to be with him again, she chose to have a baby with him. People couldn't believe it. They were shocked, they were hurt, and honestly, a lot of folks were just tired of trying to understand how someone could go from publicly calling a man a predator to making him the father of her child. How do you explain that? How do you justify turning around and building a future with someone you said mistreated you so badly? Some of her own supporters, people who once defended her through everything, had to walk away. They felt betrayed. They saw her bravery, her tears, her confession, and then watched her turn around and make the same man her co-parent. And at that point, defending her started to feel impossible. But the truth is, situations like these are more complex than they seem. Trauma bonds are real. When someone has been manipulated and emotionally broken down for years, it changes how they see themselves. It changes what they think they deserve. Coco may have more money than Memphis. She may have the platform, the influence, the career, but emotional control doesn't work that way. Being financially independent doesn't mean you're emotionally free. And for someone who's been hurt repeatedly, walking away isn't just about leaving the house. It is about untangling your self-worth from the person who made you feel like you had none. So while outsiders might look at her and think she should know better, the truth is, when you've been groomed, hurt, and manipulated from a young age, better feels like something you don't deserve. And sadly, that is what makes these kinds of bonds so hard.
Why you always go to Swag and when you were in Memphis on a break? I don't always go to him when we are on a break. That was that one, or I did it 2 times. Once 2 years ago and then last year. Those are the only 2 times I've ever linked with Q, like after the Memphis breakup. But you know, Q's my friend. I fuck with Q. He's always been a really good guy to me. So yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah.
Now they have a baby, a little girl just 5 months old, and the way they've been caring for her on social media is beyond disturbing. It is downright alarming. Let's start with Memphis. In one video that had viewers cringing, he was holding the baby with absolutely no neck support. Her tiny head was flopping around as he shook her slightly, trying to wake her up from a nap. Newborns need neck support. It is basic. Yet he seemed completely unaware or just did not care. Then, without checking her comfort or watching for signs, he shoved a bottle into her mouth, roughly, not even holding it properly. Coco, to her credit, tried to intervene. She calmly told him how to hold their daughter better and how to feed her more gently. But Memphis, he brushed it off, ignored her, kept doing things, even though his way was clearly unsafe. That is not just being inexperienced, that is being careless. That is putting your ego above your own child's safety.
I mean, I had her, so she can help me. She can help me get views. Is you even drinking this girl? Got her head. Look at her head. I'm controlling her head with my arm. Right here. She okay. Oh, don't scare me like that, baby. You think I'm pretty funny?
Sometimes.
Sometimes I'm funnier than you, ain't?
No.
What do you call a black person who was here first?
Adam.
Black Jesus. Wake up in the morning, then I had to pull up on the block because today I get to whip and you know my top drop.
And my card name is Nene. Have to hit the quan because today is a good day.
Her head can kind of stand up without me.
For her, baby.
Her head. She ain't drinking. She's good.
That's the way you're holding her,
No, it's
baby.
not. I'll be watching my baby all day long.
Let her lean back.
Man, don't tell me how to watch this baby, man. She
Look
looking
how
at me.
she
She want to look at me.
standing up.
Yes, master.
And if you thought that was bad, it got worse. In another clip, Coco was seen feeding the baby while twerking on camera. Yes, twerking. The bottle was propped up in the baby's mouth as Coco turned her back to the camera and danced for Memphis's videos. Her focus wasn't on her daughter, it was on the angle of her butt. Her baby was reduced to a background prop while she entertained her man. This wasn't a bonding moment, this wasn't playfulness. It was clout chasing, plain and simple. These videos sparked outrage, and rightfully so. People questioned whether either of them understood what it means to be a parent. Caring for a child is more than just showing up on camera. It is feeding with intention, holding with care, and making your baby feel safe and loved. So the question has to be, are these really the parents we trust with the baby? Because nothing about their actions so far says this child is being raised in a stable, nurturing environment. And that is heartbreaking. Another moment that had people furious was when Coco's baby started losing her hair. Now, it is completely normal for babies to lose some hair, especially because of things like cradle cap or natural shedding. But what made people angry wasn't the hair loss itself, it was how Coco handled it. Coco admitted that she scrubbed her baby's scalp aggressively aggressively, trying to remove the cradle cap. That alone raised eyebrows because a baby's scalp is extremely delicate. But it did not stop there. She also confessed to using multiple hair products that aren't made for infants. These weren't gentle baby oils or doctor-approved treatments. These were adult products packed with heavy ingredients. Her baby girl had a head full of beautiful thick hair. After Coco's rough treatment and product overload, her baby ended up nearly bald. And sure, baby hair usually grows back with time, but this wasn't regular shedding. This was hair loss caused by poor, even reckless care.
I'm waiting for the cheese to melt all the way, you guys. And then
Where her hair,
put it in.
it fell out. All 60 to 90% of baby's hair fall out, but y'all won't know that because y'all can't have baby because y'all edge right. I ain't talking about everybody, I'm talking about the haters. Baby's hair fall out all the time.
It's really like, honestly, it's Coach, you got cradle cap, and
Baby's hair fall
I didn't know what I was doing, and I used a comb trying to get it out in the bath.
Baby's hair fall out. Hey, look, some babies come out bald head, chat. So,
But I realized like now how to do it.
hey, look, she like Cynthia, real rats.
Don't call her that.
Hey, look, all babies' hair fall out. If you don't got kids or you're trifling ass, never watch kids, you wouldn't know that.
Stop talking crap on here before they.
All kids' hair, mostly, especially the biracial kids, especially the mixed kids, they hair.
What made it worse was Coco's reaction. She went live to defend herself. She said she did not mean harm and acted out of concern, but her words did not match what people saw. The videos and photos showed exactly what had happened, and no amount of explanation could erase the damage. People weren't angry because of a baby lost hair. They were angry because Coco ignored warning signs. She saw her baby's hair falling out, saw the reactions online, and still continued to do what she wanted. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a refusal to stop and in parenting, especially with a baby so young, that kind of stubbornness can be harmful. As the criticism poured in, some creators started calling out Coco and Memphis online. They weren't making up stories or spreading rumors, they were pointing to real videos, real behavior, and real red flags. These creators were genuinely concerned about the baby and how she was being raised in such a toxic environment. They made videos unpacking the chaotic relationship, the parenting mistakes, and the disturbing moments that had been shared publicly by Coco and Memphis themselves. But soon, these videos started disappearing. One creator publicly shared that their video had been reported and taken down, and they weren't alone. Other creators began noticing the same pattern. Content that criticized Coco and Memphis was being flagged, reported, and removed from platforms. To many, this looked like an attempt to silence the truth. Instead of addressing the real concerns people were bringing up, Coco and Memphis appeared to be scrubbing the internet of anything negative. Rather than showing growth, learning, and even basic accountability, they were focused on controlling the narrative. That is not accountability, that is damage control. And sadly, it shows where their priorities really are. Not with protecting their child, but with protecting their image. Even now, it is clear this relationship is far from healed. Just recently, Coco went on yet another emotional rant, saying Memphis never gives her space. She said she just wants some peace and quiet to breathe without constantly being followed, questioned, or interrupted. She sounded drained, like someone who's been asking for the bare minimum and still isn't getting it, and yet she is. This isn't the first time she's voiced her frustrations. In fact, it's almost become a pattern. Coco vents online, spills her heart out, says she's had enough, and then goes right back into the same situation. And the saddest part, every time she goes back, it chips away at her credibility, her peace and possibility, and possibly even her safety. We've watched this cycle repeat like clockwork. One moment it's public breakdowns and fights. The next is matching outfits and happy family photos. But behind the filters and posts, it's clear nothing really changes. And every time this toxic loop resets, the consequences grow bigger. Now, there's a baby in the picture, and the stakes, they've never been higher. This isn't just internet drama. This is about a real child living in a chaotic home, surrounded by toxic arguments, unstable love, the kind of parenting that feels more performative than protective. This little girl is being raised in an environment where a cloth seems to matter more than care, where attention is prioritized over actual nurturing, and that should deeply concern all of us. Coco might be a victim of manipulation and years of emotional damage. She might also be someone who now chooses, willingly or unwillingly, to stay in a cycle she could walk away from. At this point, the lines are blurred. But what is clear is that Memphis has repeatedly shown the world that he is not ready or willing to be a responsible father or a partner. His actions have proven that. So what do we do with this story? We talk about it. loudly. We refuse to stay silent when children are caught in toxic cycles. We hold people accountable, especially when they invite us into their lives through social media. We demand better, not for the adults making messy choices, but for the innocent baby who doesn't get to choose the life she's born into. Let us know in the comments what you think. Is this a trauma bond that she can't break? Is it willful denial, or is there something deeper we're not seeing behind the screen? Either way, one thing is crystal clear: the baby deserves a calm, loving, safe home, not a chaotic live stream, not a stage, not an afterthought. No amount of followers, fame, or filters can give a child the love and peace they truly need. Like and subscribe if you believe that every child deserves better. Stay tuned, and we'll be here to cover what comes next.